Hello, welcome back. This is Marylin. No, that's not right. Hello, welcome back, everybody. This is Marylin Rossano from Rossano's Casa. Very impromptu YouTube episode. I was actually supposed to film this tomorrow, but I don't know. I just decided to do it today, and so I'm not put together. But that's okay because we're not here for me. We're here for the food. So today we are making my sticky date pudding with butterscotch sauce. This is a cake that my friends always request of me. So there's a friend's birthday. So it's either this or my salted caramel slice. So I'm generously sharing this with you. The full recipe will be in the caption and it's on the website as well if you'd like to make it. It is a showstopper comfort cake pudding. It's springtime here, but we don't care. It's generally a winter recipe dish, but to me, it can be eaten all year round. So I'm actually going to make this for you in a springform tin, purely because I am transporting it to a friend's for her birthday. So I'm going to just be doing it in this so that I can take it out and put it into a cake box. However, if I'm making this for guests at home, I would definitely just put it into a baking tray or, some oven-proof dish, a round one, and just scoop it out because it's a pudding and that's what we do with puddings, right? We just scoop it out. So first things first, I have actually bypassed one step and done it ahead of time purely because it needs to be chilled and I didn't film it. So that's fine. It's very straightforward. It's very easy. So in this recipe, you will need dates. I'm not a date lover generally. Like when I see those date bark recipes, date bliss balls, I'm not a fan unless it is dates in marmoul, which are Middle Eastern cookies made out of like a semolina thing with dates. And even then I prefer it with walnuts. So I'm not a huge date lover. But in this, impeccable. So we have dates that I have. So I've added 250 grams of dates to 1.5 cups of cold tap water, brought up to the boil, let it simmer for a few minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, and then turned the heat off and allowed that to cool down. Never put any hot liquid into a blender or food processor from the stovetop dough. It will explode. So you've got to leave it to cool down a bit. So I'm going to blitz this up in a second with you. But then into the cake, there will be butter that I'm going to cream up here with sugar, which I didn't measure out. I knew I forgot a step. So butter, sugar, good stuff, brown sugar. Eggs, there's a couple of eggs in here. Make sure they're room temperature. If they're not, you'll run the risk of the cake becoming and the pudding being dense. Baking powder, bicarb soda, and plain flour. That's literally it. Comes together, we bake it, and we make a beautiful butterscotch sauce, which is literally dark brown sugar, cream, and butter on the stovetop. I like to bake the pudding, pierce it right out of the oven, put a bit of that butterscotch sauce so that the pudding absorbs some of that butterscotch sauce. Then when we go to serve it, I like to serve it with extra butterscotch sauce because it is never enough sauce. Okay, that was a mouthful. I'm going to go measure out the sugar that I didn't measure out here. I'm going to puree this and we'll come back and make the cake together from bird's eye view. As you can see here, I have pureed the dates. You do not want to drain the water that you boiled the dates in, literally all in the emulsifier. I prefer like a NutriBullet blender, hand stick blender emulsifier opposing to a food processor. I just feel like the food processor doesn't get it into that puree texture. But anyway, so that's done. We are going to be adding our brown sugar. So 1 cup of brown sugar to 60 grams of unsalted butter. Let me get it out here. I've just measured it. Can you see I was like so organized, but I forgot the sugar. So we are going to just cream this in either handheld beaters or a stand mixer with a paddle attachment for about 3 to 4 minutes until this is light and fluffy, and then we'll add in our eggs. Okay, as you can see, it is nice and light and fluffy. We are going to add in 1 egg at a time and just incorporate that on low speed. We don't want to overbeat this. So just for a little bit until it's incorporated, and then I'll add in the next egg. Let's add in the second egg. Okay, once I didn't use room temperature eggs, and I definitely noticed that the cake came out more, the pudding came out more dense. So incorporate that. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scrape down the edges. Okay, I'm going to add in the date puree, and I'm going to incorporate this a little bit more before we add in the flour. Because once the flour and bicarb and all that's added in, you don't want to overbeat it at all. All right, we have our flour. So there's 1 1/4 cups in there. I'm going to add in a teaspoon baking powder and half a teaspoon of baking soda. Okay. And we are going to add it into the mixer and just on low speed, just until it's just incorporated. Do not overbeat it. You'll get a tough pudding. All right, as you can see, it's just incorporated. So I'm going to take this out of stand mixture. Okay, move this over. Working with a small space here, as you do, small, tight and intimate. Make sure that it is just, sometimes the center of the mixer, like the paddle, doesn't get there. So just make sure that it's nicely incorporated. I'm going to go butter the springform pan. If you are using just a baking tray that you're going to spoon the pudding out from, then just butter that and pour it in and we'll bake it up. So you could spray this with oil, but I like to use butter. So for me, I don't know what I find myself, if the cake that I'm making or pudding is an oil base, I'll spray the pan or dish with oil. If I've used butter, I use butter. I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm not a patissier, but that's just what I've done. All right, so that's that. Then we're going to pour it in. Beautiful mixture, as you can see. Sorry, lighting is horrible here today. Pour it right in. Then we're going to bake this at 170 degrees Celsius for about 50 minutes. And then we're going to check it. And if the skewer comes out clean, we are going to pierce a few holes in the top of it, put in that butterscotch sauce, and then reserve the rest for when we serve. I don't like a drop left. Anyway, so while this is baking, we will go to the stovetop and make that butterscotch sauce. I promise it is so easy. You'll be like, is that it? I'm sure there's more complicated ones. I was always thinking about adding a little bit of whiskey to it, but anyway, we're going to leave it PG today. All right, let's get this in the oven. I always like to put a baking tray underneath this just in case, I don't know, there's like spillage of anything. I don't want to be scrubbing my oven. So that's about it. We'll come back in 50 minutes and check and make our butterscotch sauce. We have our pudding baking away. So let's get let's get a start. Our butterscotch sauce. So dark brown sugar. Dark brown is a must to get that butterscotchness. So into a pan, I'm going to put this on just a lowish heat. Thickened cream, 600 ml, right on top. Okay, and then we have 200 grams of unsalted cold butter, which I'm actually going to slice up into cubes. And that will all come together beautifully. Let it dissolve. I'm going to stir it here and there, just on a low heat. You will know. It will all dissolve and come together and be delicious. So I do want to say we have 30 minutes left for the pudding to finish. And then this will be done. I will definitely pour a little bit of this over the pudding for it to absorb, and then we will serve it up with extra on the side. You can definitely freeze this if you have leftover pudding, sauce. You can just freeze it into like a little container, a freezer-proof container for a later date. I do know it makes quite a bit, but I'm like, you know what? Even if I use half of this, I'll freeze the other half. And when I want to whip up the pudding, it's one less task to have to do. So I'm just going to keep mixing this just on super low heat until the butter is dissolved, the sugar, the cream is incorporated, and that is it. And there you have it, your beautiful sticky date pudding. So as you can see, I put that butterscotch sauce on there, and the pudding has absorbed it. So you've got that beautiful kind of glazy top coat. Leave that to cool down slightly, but it is best served warm. So if you have guests coming over, you could literally put it into the oven as you're eating, your starters or whatnot, have it baking away, have the butterscotch sauce done ahead of time, and serve it up, scoop it. I mean, I love this, scooped out of the tray, butterscotch sauce and some vanilla bean ice cream. Match made in absolute heaven. I'm going to actually let this cool down completely because I'm gifting it to a friend. Take it out of the springform tin, put it into a beautiful cake box or container, package the sauce up, but I'm probably only going to use half that sauce for this pudding, and then I'll freeze the other half. So next time, say I'm having guests over, I've already got the sauce done ahead of time. Anyway, hope you love it. I will add the link to the recipe in the show notes for you all. If you make it, I would love to know what you thought of it. I think it's a very easy and simple recipe. There are a couple of things in there to be mindful of, like to be highlighted. Apart from that, until next time, bye.